being here. Assistant Secretary Nichols, I want to begin by thanking you and the State Department for your efforts to secure the release of a constituent of mine and her child in New Hampshire last month who had been kidnapped in Haiti. Your efforts were really very helpful, and I know the family's not totally reunited because they had to leave some of their Haitian-born children in Haiti, but I appreciate that you're working closely with our office to help reunite the family and get those children back to the United States. So thank you very much for that. I want to echo the concerns that were expressed by both the chair and ranking member in their opening remarks about the missed opportunity that I think we have in the Western Hemisphere in Latin America. I had the opportunity in April to join a number of my colleagues on a bipartisan CODEL. We went to Panama, Colombia, Argentina, and Brazil. And one of the things that we heard everywhere we went was how much they wanted to have a positive relationship with the United States. They would like to see increased trade. They would like to see deeper relationships, and felt like they had not gotten a reciprocal response from the United States. I'm pleased that legislation that Senators Durbin and Bozeman and I have with to try and encourage increased trade to Latin America is in the Defense Authorization Bill. I hope that remains as the bill proceeds through Congress, but it felt like such a missed opportunity. So, I know we could spend the next 3 hours talking about that, but can I ask you to address that, Secretary Nichols?
Well, thank you so much. And engagement with this hemisphere is vital. Just last week, Costa Rican President Chavez was here. This coming week, we will have President Ali of Guyana here. President Biden hosted all the leaders of our hemisphere, all the democratically elected leaders of our hemisphere for the Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles. We hosted subnational leaders from our hemisphere and around the world in Denver, Colorado at the City Summit of the Americas. I accompanied Secretary Blinken to the 50th anniversary of CARICOM in Trinidad and Tobago. I was with Vice President Harris to meet with CARICOM in the Bahamas. The President has been deeply engaged with our closest neighbors in Canada and Mexico, in the North American Leaders Summit in Mexico City, and also bilaterally in Ottawa. This is a hemisphere that's vitally important, and America's Partnership for Economic Prosperity is another area where we expect to deepen our relations through work on infrastructure, climate, education, sustainable growth. Those are all areas of progress. And then we have 4 countries in our hemisphere that are members of APEC as well.
I appreciate that. I think all of those efforts are important. It still is not clear to me that we have a comprehensive strategy for how we're approaching Latin America. So I hope that as events continue, that will be clearer to us on the committee. One of the things that we visited on our trip was the Panama Canal, and as you know, the Panama Canal is being affected by significant disruptions because of climate change and the impact on the drought there, and that is having real disruptions in terms of increasing supply chain issues for consumers. Can you tell us whether the State Department is engaged with Panama in doing anything to address this, if there's anything that we are working on that can help as they think about how to deal with the water shortage, because this is clearly going to be a long-term issue?
Thank you, Senator. We are actively engaged with Panama on watershed management issues through USAID and State Department's Bureau for Oceans, Environment, and Science. Our ambassador, Mari Carmen Aponte, is very active on these issues as well. It's vital to our commerce and our security.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson, last year, the Fentanyl Results Act that I was proud to co-sponsor with a bipartisan group of senators was signed into law. Can you tell me if anything is happening to implement that? I know the Senate Appropriations Committee has put in $125 million to try and stop the flow of fentanyl, but is there any work being done to specifically implement the provisions in that bill?
Senator, thank you for that question. As you know, the fentanyl crisis has been front and center for this administration. Secretary Blinken hosted a ministerial earlier this summer. Over 100 countries, up to 100 countries, almost 100 countries and international organizations participated. We have working groups that are getting together to talk about implementing some of the things that came out of that ministerial. We will introduce a resolution at the UN at the upcoming UN General Assembly to tackle this issue. All of this to say, we are using every tool, including the tools that are provided by you all, by the Senate, to engage with our partners globally to fight this issue. We understand every day how important this is, both on the supply side and working with our partners domestically, ONDCP, on the domestic side to make sure that that communities in the United States have what they need to address the addiction and overdose issues.
Well, sadly, in New Hampshire, we're seeing overdose deaths tick back up again. And so how do you define success? Do you have identified goals for interdiction, for reduction in amount of fentanyl coming into the country, for what China's providing in terms of precursor chemicals? What's the plan long-term to deal with this issue?
Well, those things that you mentioned are how we identify success. And while I'm saddened to hear that the numbers are ticking up in New Hampshire, my understanding is overall in the United States, the numbers are actually flattening, and in some areas going down. Part of this is the administration's attention, increased attention on the domestic side, again, making sure that communities are given the tools they need to give more access to treatment. But also part of this is our engagement globally with Mexico, with Colombia, with our European partners. And we have to remember that while in the United States, the issue is fentanyl, synthetic drugs globally are an issue. In the Middle East, it's ketamine. In Europe, it's methamphetamine. And we are engaged in offering tools to both our friends and our allies and our partners in the region to do the operations and to increase their security at their ports, to identify and engage with try to engage with the People's Republic of China on the issue of precursor chemicals.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Shaheen. I'm going to start a second round of questions that I have.